Meeting to order. Randall Rush. Are there any announcements that anybody has to make, would like to make? Oh, yes. Thank you. Make sure that you turn your mic on when you speak into it, and you turn it off when you finish speaking so that other talking isn't over what's being said. Okay, so that is the announcement. And I would like to thank everybody for the privilege of doing this. I'm looking forward to it. Any public appearances? Nope, no public. Okay, and we don't seem to have any advisory boards or foundation or friends groups here to present. Okay, moving on. We're down to commission and liaison reports. So let's start with the commissioner reports, and we'll start down by Randall.
The Windsor Lab met the day after the last commission meeting, and we had a book sale this past Sunday at the farmers market, and that's it.
Yes, Roanoke Park, I had submitted a written report, which I'm sure will save time. And I did want to highlight that I did make a brief appearance before the Roanoke Park City Council. It was a very upbeat announcement of our wonderful new interim director, our new OPEB policy, our new fund balance policy, all the great events that are going on in the library, the summer reading program. So I wanted to underlined all the very positive aspects of things that are going on. I also participated with our lab at Katati Kids Day, and we had just a constant stream of people coming to the booth, and we had some new bling to give away, so that was great. And I have been involved in several meetings as the new vice chair, including the meeting with the general counsel and working with Chair Foxen to work on training for new commissioners. I also had two notes here to myself. Don't forget to thank Jamie for her interim work acting as the director, and much appreciated. You're a steady hand. And I also wanted to mention that Reese and I on Thursday are going to go up to your hometown. I didn't know if you were going to talk about this, Reese. The Mayors and Council Members Association meets every other month, and Mayors and Council Members Association is where the conversation about redoing the JPA originated. And so last year, Helena and Tracy were just about to present to them, and then the fires came. So anyway, since it's in Cloverdale, Reese and I are going to go and just introduce ourselves and then hope to have a presentation with Susan at a later meeting. Thank you.
I had the pleasure of going to two labs last month. One was the Guerneville lab, which I had to say my goodbyes, and it's a really good lab out there, and they do just amazing things. They work, the Friends and the advisory board out there work very closely together, and they're looking for new members, and anybody live out that way, especially teen members, so youth members. And then I attended the Petaluma lab last week, and I wasn't officially the commissioner yet. Tim was, but it was a good meeting, and we talked a lot about the refresh coming up. We're real excited about that, and I wanted to point out that there is the book sale coming up, which is the children's book sale is August 10th and 11th. That's Friday and Saturday. Half price all day, it says. I mean, what a bargain, you know. They practically give away the books anyway, so it's good. And then the general sale is August 15th, 16th, and 17th. And they really have a great selection of books, so anybody who wants to buy more books, it's a good place to go, and visit Petaluma at the same time. So,
no report.
And I'd like to welcome Stephen Zolman, representative from Sebastopol, to our commission.
Thank you. Very honored to be here. Thank you.
I've been mostly just trying to get up to speed with this whole chair position. So that's been my main focus for the last month. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to request of all the commissioners, I'm having Jane send out a list tomorrow of the different committees. There are 3 standing committees, the Director Evaluation, the Finance, and the Advocacy. There are 2 liaisons that we need, Foundation and the Measure Y Oversight. And then there are several ad hoc committees. I would like to know what your interests are and what your preferences are for serving on which committees. These won't be finalized until the end of September, so you have a little bit of time to think about it. And if you have questions, you can certainly ask. Hopefully in September, we'll have virtually everybody appointed and we'll be up and running with a full commission. So, but we need to have people begin to think about it and get their preferences in. So Jane will do that for us, right? Okay. Moving on to the committee reports. Director's Evaluation Committee has not met, and so there's no report. Any finance?
Finance Committee, again, I submitted my report in writing, and I would just summarize it by saying we are in the fortunate position of having a budget surplus in both our property tax funds and also Measure Y funds, and we're just beginning to have preliminary discussions about making recommendations to the Commission for those expenditures. I know there's a lot of staff conversations going on, and we're discussing it from the both the staff suggestions and also the Commission suggestions. So if you have any information that you haven't supplied and something that you're interested in doing, please send me an email. And the Finance Committee meets again on the 20th on a regular time, third Monday at 3 o'clock at headquarters. Thank you.
Okay, and the Advocacy Committee met just before the last commission meeting. In any case, we talked about the all-day lab, and Santa Rosa has now agreed to head up the planning of that. And I have not made contact with them, but I plan to do so this week. We're going to need a couple of people from the commission to maybe work with them or act as a liaison between the commission and et cetera. In the lab survey, they sent out, one of the things is they really want to work with the commission in making the plans, so that'll go well. The second thing we talked about was the responses that I had gotten from a couple of elected officials, which were not exactly, they didn't understand where we were and what was happening with us. So each of us needs to dig around and think about the different issues that they have heard or have come up in their communities, and we'll be getting that information to the Advocacy Committee, and we'll begin to get some talking points and begin to get a plan together to address this, because we do need to talk to all these entities, these appointing entities, so they fully understand what we're dealing with and how we're going about it. So Foundation Liaison has been Linda. So I don't think anybody else went to the Foundation meeting, did they? Okay. Measure Y Oversight Liaison has been Barbara. Any report?
Just that we are meeting this week on Wednesday from 2 to 4 at Central Library, and the intention is to get our first annual report organized very soon. Well, when I say we, this is, of course, the committee's report. I'm the liaison to the commission. Thank you.
The SOPs, I was kind of going crazy trying to do the 2 things at once. It's beginning to calm down now, and I am getting back to them. And hopefully, within the next month or 2, I'll have them done and sorted out completely. Okay, Director Search Committee, we have not met recently. I do know that we are reviewing the salary scale and schedule for the director so that it is more in line with other entities of our size and with the responsibilities involved. So those are the 2 things. We should have a report by next month, I believe it is. And we'll do the discussion around the salary at that point in time. So foundation, again, 0. The JPA and Bylaws Review Committee.
I failed to work on my cruise as I should have. So let's count on another month before you get something.
I think, given what I've been doing over the months, I can fully understand what you're dealing with. Okay, Commissioner Orientation and Training. Barbara and I have been talking. Tim is off it now, off that committee. Barbara and I have kind of been talking and beginning to lay some of the groundwork, and we will continue to do so. Are you on that committee, Tom? The training and orientation? I think I said I would. Okay. Are you, do you, okay, yeah, okay. Okay, will do. And the all-day lab workshop committee, we haven't really formed yet, and I just gave a brief rundown that Santa Rosa will be heading that up. Okay, so anything else anybody has to say? Okay. Moving on to the consent items. Anybody want to pull one? I do. I want to pull 6.2. We need to talk about the timing of the Measure Y appointees. We lost our chair. Somebody has stepped up, thank heavens. But because the person was going off and nobody's been reappointed, technically he's not belonging, and he doesn't want to come back anyway. So we need to somehow change the timeline, and we'll talk about that later. Is there anything else anybody wants to pull from the consent items?
I move adoption of the remaining items.
Everybody in, okay, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, done. Okay, now I am going to ask a question for protocol, and I hope somebody can answer me. When I pull something like that from a consent item, where does it fall? In the action items? By motion? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, you usually have to say where you want to pull it to,
Okay.
either to discussion or the action items by motion, if you want something.
Okay, I'd rather have it go to discussion because I think it's something that everybody has to talk about.
So to discussion.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Okay, so we're in.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a need to, isn't there going to be a meeting they're going to have?
They're going to have a meeting next week, Wednesday? Okay.
We be appointing some of these people? Or are there?
We can't appoint them. It has to be the person that's coming in that appoints them.
Oh, okay.
And, okay, so it was in the discussion item. Can we go ahead and talk about it since we've started it?
Well, I was just wondering if it needed to be in an action item. And you're saying, I think we have to,
It does need
somebody
to be-
has, if Barbara said she wants Janice Brokaw appointed, then we have to vote on that.
Okay.
You see, yeah, let's move it to action. I think that's where it should be.
Okay.
Just moving it to the action items because we'll discuss the issue of the terms, but also we need to take action on it.
At the same time. All righty. And okay. So we're at discussion items, and Susan, would you like to talk now, giving the director's report?
Figuring out what's next. Okay. Well, I'm excited to be at my first meeting. Glad to be here. So I've had a busy, this is the beginning of my 4th week. So I've been here 3 weeks and I'm getting to know the commissioners, staff, and community members. That's really been a nice opportunity for me. I've met with all the commissioners whose terms have ended July 31st. That was my first priority, to meet with our outgoing commissioners. And I currently have or will meet with our continuing and newly appointed commissioners. So I'm really glad to have the opportunity opportunity to get to know you and understand your priorities for the commission. So I'm also meeting regularly with all my direct reports, the wonderful team here in the audience, to understand their current opportunities and challenges. And, you know, really what we're talking about is issues that we really want to deal with in a timely fashion, kind of hot topics that we have to deal with in the next 6 to 9 months, and also prioritizing, triaging what we do while I'm here and what we do in the future. So I also feel it's critical for me to work on the recruitment, and in terms of that, I am involved with weekly calls with Suzanne Silva, our HR manager, and Pam Derby, who is the CPS HR rep, to relaunch the director's search. And our primary task right now is doing a salary review. We should bring the results of that hopefully to you in September at the September 17th meeting. And we're also relooking at ads and other the approach to the recruitment. So I've also attended several meetings regarding the Roseland branch, which I know is a top priority. I visited Guerneville, Santa Rosa. I've been to Santa Rosa several times now, Windsor, and I'm scheduling additional branch visits. So what I'm trying to do with the visits is going when a lab meeting is occurring and when the library, Friends of the Library are occurring, and on Thursday afternoon I'm going to go to Sonoma. So I'm excited about that. A couple of things that are not included in the director's report. I think you may be aware of this, but we do have a hazardous materials situation at the annex at the Central Library, and we are going forward as quickly as possible with abating those hazardous materials. Now, that is going to take a little bit of time, about 8 weeks, and that will begin before we have our next commission meeting. So on Monday, August 27th, we're going to begin prepping the area, and also we have to move all the staff and activities out of the annex. I know that our public services team is working on that along with Dave and Ken, and I think most of those activities are going to be temporarily relocated to the Central Library. Beginning September 4th through the 24th, we're going to have most of the actual abatement and then refurbishing of the area. And then staff will move in beginning 9/27, and hopefully will be open again on the 19th of October. So I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. We'll have a lot of announcements and public information about that, but it will be closed from August 27th to October 19th. Am I right? Is that pretty good on that, Ken? Okay. I know the crew here will correct me if I'm not speaking in a timely fashion. And you know, there are a lot of exciting things here going on all the time. It's really been great to visit the branches. But one thing that I wanted to highlight that is mentioned in the report, and there's a lot of good information in those reports, the staff reports, facilities, public services team. I would just encourage you to read those, and we'd be happy to respond to questions if you have them. But one thing that I'm really excited about is our launch of the Hublets, and I've asked Vicki Turbovich, our IT director, to just speak briefly about what the Hublets are and how that launch is going.
Okay, so first of all, what's most exciting about the Hublets is that we're the first library system in the United States to launch the Hublet system. What's the Hublet system? It's a vending venue for tablets. So a patron can walk up with their library card, type in scan the library card, type in the PIN number, and then check out a tablet to be used within the library for a 2-hour time frame. And so right now we have 6 locations that have those Hublets, and very soon we'll be ordering more to put in the rest of the libraries. So it's a Samsung Galaxy Tab 4 tablet. It's preloaded with the first page is library applications, the second page is e-resource applications, and then thirdly we have productivity apps like Google Docs and Google Sheets and Slides and that sort of thing, PDF reader, and then on the final page is entertainment. So There are a series of games and applications like Netflix, and these can be used over the library's Wi-Fi. Well, you might ask the question, well, what happens if somebody walks out of the library with one of them? Well, the way this product works is that once it goes outside the library's Wi-Fi, it's disabled. So if you think about that application for car theft called LoJack, so it has a piece of software that's like LoJack for computers. And it also has a power plug that's been replaced so that it's proprietary. So if someone takes it out of the library, first of all, it's disabled. It disables itself. Second of all, even if you had a Samsung Tab 4 Galaxy charger, it wouldn't work Anyway, we haven't had any theft. Everybody has used them. They're really excited about it. In the first month, we had over 1,400 uses of the ones that we put first in the Northwest Library for its refreshed, and then in a few other of the locations for other locations. So, any questions about the Hublets?
Yes. Are these supplementing the desktop computers we have? Are they going to take over the desktop eventually?
Absolutely not. Although the desktop wired computer usage in most cases, except the Central Library, is dropping off. The truth of the matter is that we're going to be doing a both-and situation. And they're in a nice kind of rubberized case, and it has Gorilla Glass, so even if you drop it, it's pretty sturdy. So the answer is no, we're not getting rid of desktop computers, but we're augmenting it. Our second install was in the Guerneville Library, and they were going out like hotcakes in the Guerneville Library because there are a lot of folks in Guerneville that do not have computing devices. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Yes, all they need is a library card.
All they need.
That's just the basic requirement to check.
That's right, and they just the unit. I should have brought a picture. The unit is really just it's on a stand and about 18 inches or 24 inches wide, and then there are slots in it. It's electrified. It's using a Linux kernel, so it's a very small footprint. There's a touch screen, and there's a high-end scanner in the thing. You just slide your library card under it, scans it, then it prompts you on the little screen for your PIN number. And it's very, very easy to use. The kids are really excited about it. I will say that we had a lot of requests from the branches, and I want to put this out there because it's very important. A lot of the branches ask in this new budget year if we could put some of these laptop vending units in the libraries. Well, those laptop vending units take up a lot of precious floor real estate, and the other thing is that the cost of them is maybe close to $50,000 just for the vend unit, never mind the laptops or iPads or anything else inside. This unit was right around the $10,000 mark, so it was a good way for us to get started with a small footprint. And it's really, really exciting. We sent out a press release, and there will be an article forthcoming in Library Journal about the Sonoma County Library. So in all ways, I think it's been a win.
It's very exciting. Thank you.
How many is available at each library?
Right now, there are 6 units in it for each library.
So 6 units at each library?
In each library, that's right.
That's pretty good. Okay.
That's right. And so right now we have 6 units of 6 in 6 different branches. In some of the bigger libraries, like Rohnert Park and so forth, we're probably going to end up putting more than one unit of 6 just because of the spread out space and everything, so people can easily find them. Barbara?
Yes, I love those. I saw them at the opening in Northwest. It was very impressive. I had a kind of a follow-up. This allows me to segue into my question to you. With Hublets, the forum room upgrades, the digital displays, all this cool new technology that we're getting, would it be possible to get kind of a rough schedule about when we could expect these things in each branch? I'm not sure what the selection process is, and I'm sure there's a lot to it, but if we kind of had an idea then we'd be able to answer questions on our branch.
Sure. So I just got the quotes back for the next set of Hublets. So get ready to fill out just one unit in every library left. It's $68,000. So we're changing the color from purple to green just so we have a mix of colors. So I have that quote, and I just have to, you'll see it on the next commission agenda, because we have to, get the commission to vote on that. So I'm doing my spiel right now for it. And then the forum room upgrades. Right now we have two forum room upgrades that are in process. One will start in Guerneville on the 13th, and that's the 13th of August. And then we're putting in digital displays the week following that in the Petaluma branch, and then finally on the 20th we'll be finishing off the Healdsburg forum room refresh. Then what we have to do, we've gotten quotes like for the bigger branches like Rohnert Park. It's a bigger forum room, so there are bigger details to take care of financially. But as soon as I have a schedule, it's really been about getting on the schedule of the install vendor. Right now they've had a little bit of a resource issue because it's summertime and their people are on vacation, and there are a lot of ball bearings that they're juggling. So did you have a question, Tom?
Is this in the budget?
Yes, it is. Oh, absolutely.
I was just thinking, is this something we want to put into our surplus list?
Well,
we don't have to. Thank you.
Yeah, I budgeted for doing all of these things because they were sorely needed, and the business about having on-demand tablets and things were, for the last couple of years and before Measure Y passed. And this is a good opportunity for us to get these in place and make a big splash with Measure Y funds, I think. And it's also, you can tell by when I just had 2 of them in place and we had over 1,400 checkouts of them, of 12 units. You can tell we need to do that. So, any other questions for me? Barbara, did I answer your questions about the schedule?
I would maybe like a little more specifics when you can, and you have the details, but just so all of us know when our branches are on, set to receive.
Absolutely.
Because there's 3 different things, and I'm sure they don't get all installed at the same time in different.
Well, one of the things I am trying to do is consolidate the installation of the forum room upgrades with the digital displays that display the events of the day, because all of it involves workmen hanging a device. It also involves wiring and so forth. And so as I'm doing each one of these forum rooms, we're starting with, finishing up the Healdsburg one by way of example. They'll be hanging the digital display and doing the work in the forum room.
We can certainly provide a written schedule for all of you, plus new commissioners who want to see that, so we can do that as a follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All righty. So any more comments on the monthly activities?
Are we still in the director activities, or can we talk about any of these?
Well, we just moved on.
We just moved on?
I assumed she was finished.
I completed the director's report. I think we're now on the management report, so we're certainly willing to answer questions about anything in there. And I also would like to note that we don't have a monthly financial report for this month as we're doing the year-end close, but you'll see that again in September. And we'd be happy to answer any questions about the management and the activities that have gone on in this report.
Thank you. My question was specifically on page 25, 7.2.1, and that was this interesting thing I saw about the bike fix-it stations. Wait a minute. Do I have the right page?
25,
here it
the
is.
bike fix-it sets
Right.
past to Pole, Sonoma Valley, and Petaluma.
Right. So I have never heard of this, and I think it's very interesting that it's coming out of funding for the Friends of the Library. And I would just like a little more detail about where the idea came from and how complicated it is and how it's going to function and what it's in front of the library and whether it's going to compete with local bike shops and, you know, kind of some of the details that I'm sure have been considered.
Sure, thank you, Commission. The bike fix-it stations, the idea behind these is that it's a place where someone who's biking through the community or lives in the community could stop and do some basic bike maintenance. So it includes a bike stand and a bike pump and some basic tools like hex wrenches that a person might need for very, do I need to repeat?
Just pull your microphone closer. Yeah.
Thank you. So the bike fix-it stations are freestanding stations that would be installed outside branch libraries that include very basic bike maintenance setup, a stand, a pump, and some tools like hex wrenches. The idea is that people who are passing by on their bike and need a quick, really a quick adjustment could do that at the library. These are common in other cities, some college campuses, other libraries like the Sacramento Public Library has these. So the idea just came from these three communities saw a potential to partner with people who like bikes in their community. There could be some educational opportunities with perhaps a partnership with local bike shops, giving people some basic information about how to use the station. They will be, because they will be outside the library, they won't necessarily have staff involvement. People could stop by and use them anytime. So we'll be working with the cities to make sure that we're putting it in a location that's appropriate for the facility and for the town.
I was kind of wondering where the idea came from. Roanoke Park is a big biking city and bike trails all over the place, and Friends have lots of money to spend. And I don't think that's been, you know, talked about. I mean, I'm just wondering how this idea, where it came from. And
just to add, you know, unlike the hublets, the bike stations, I think, have been, you know, emerging in libraries, particularly around the Bay Area, but also across the country. They have them in Portland, other cities as well, in Manhattan. And I would say over the last 3 to 5 years, it's become a rather common service. And I think what it does is it really focuses on kind of the DIY nature that people are into, and also the fact that the library can be a real good partner in those kinds of activities too. So I think it's great that we have them here, and we might want to see if other communities were interested in it too. As Sarah said, there usually is a good partnership with a local bike shop so that it's not a competition, it's really collaborative and complementary.
right. Well, I do think it's a wonderful idea. I'm not opposed to it at all. It's just I wonder, you know, they've kind of popped up here, and you know, like other people's branches are going to wonder, you know, why it hasn't been an option.
Yeah, we're considering this a pilot, but each of these three branches independently, staff from the branches asked their friends for this money. So it wasn't a system-wide discussion.
Having listened to the discussion in Sonoma, I think the idea was let's try it out and see how it works, make sure things aren't ripped off even though they're tied down, et cetera, before we try going for the whole system. And it's just, you know, if it works, your friends will have the option of having it installed.
Okay, anything else? Okay, so let's move on to 7.3, discussion of calendars of the commission meetings. There is, and yes, you did say that we have no financial one this month. Okay, good. Okay. The way it was set up is the rest of this year was 6:30, 5:30, 6:30, 5:30, which is very awkward. It's not consistent. Needs to be consistent. And then next year, we have reserved the room for 5:30 every time However, for those who work, that's a fairly early time. And it would be better if it was 6 or 6:30. So we wanted to kind of open the discussion up a little bit to get feedback, to start to get feedback, and we'll conclude it next time. But to start the discussion as to what people would like to see. Would they want 5:30? Do they want 6:30? Do they want 6? Paul.
I am going to take the high road, and I will be willing to split the difference and say 6 o'clock.
Okay.
5:30 is really early for me, for example, and I want everybody to go boo-hoo when I say I did not have dinner because I had to come right from work to make a 5:30 meeting. So.
Okay. Tom.
Well, I did have my dinner. It was a really good cheese sandwich, kind of toasted in the car, a little melted and so forth, very high quality, and I plan to head for that. I agree with 6 o'clock, though.
Okay. Stephen?
6 sounds good.
Okay.
6 sounds good. I don't want 6:30. That's too late.
Okay,
Because
that's
that'll
too late?
extend meetings
Okay.
too late into the evening.
Okay. Any preference, Paul, as far as time? I mean, Paul. Randall?
All 3 times are okay with me. It just depends on when I eat, but I'll go with 6.
Okay.
And I'm fine with 6.
Okay, so that's the general consensus at this point in time.
Very Solomon-like, don't you think? It's very Solomon-like.
Yes, yes, yes. And we'll go back to this topic next month to confirm it with the new commissioners that are coming on. And Jane looks like she has something to say.
Do we change the times to 6 o'clock for the rest of the meetings this year?
Okay. So we have 2 more meetings at 5:30. Shall we bump them to 6? And we'll just go ahead and do that on our own this time? All righty. Okay. So the ones that shall we do them all at 6? No, we can't. We can't. Those two other ones we can't. Yeah, okay. So the October 1st one and December 3rd one have now become 6 p.m.
And we have to have an motion?
September is at 6:30. Not changing that? No, because there is a meeting here that's
another
prior to
group
that, and Jane has to have at least a half an hour to set up.
So September 17th is 6:30.
Right.
October is what time?
6 p.m. And November 5th is 6:30, and December 3rd is 6 p.m. Okay? And then we will do our discussion on the 2019 meetings, and it looks like we're shooting for 6, but we'll get some feedback from the newly appointed commissioners. Okay. Done there. Okay, 8.1, budget adjustments for OPEB. Ken?
Hello.
Okay, this starts on, I'm sorry, page 37? Okay, the budget adjustment is needed because in the July commission meeting, the commission approved a new OPEB policy for not only putting $750,000 annually out of the operating budget in, but also $3 million over the next 2 years into the OPEB trust, and that would be $750,000 payment probably in August, and another one in January. So we need to adjust the budget to include those because we need to expense those deposits as in the year that we deposit them in the OPEB trust.
I would like to move that the Sonoma County Library Commission approve the adjustment to the fiscal year 2018-19 budget and payments to the OPEB trust per the attached schedule.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Discussion. Yeah.
Reese, could you please call the second? Who made the second?
Who made the second, Tom? So Barbara made the motion and Tom did the second.
Yeah.
One of these days, maybe by next July, I'll have this all organized for you guys.
You should ask for discussion in case anybody wants to say something.
Yeah, that's what I found out. Okay. I was just trying to rush us along a little, Get you out of here quick. Okay, discussion on the OPEB budget adjustment.
I would just like to say that this has been a long road. Thanks again to Ken, and thanks to the ad hoc OPEB committee for their work on this. And I think we're all really proud of where we got. And this is a big step forward and something to be proud about. And I think once we develop our talking points to all the jurisdictions, this is definitely something that we want to explain to them. So anyway, thank you, Ken, and thanks everybody in the ad hoc committee. And really pleased that we've moved forward on this.
Okay.
Are we going to publicize this, send a press release to the press, Democrat, et cetera, that we are a responsible governmental agency in the county of Sonoma trying to deal with these budget issues? I'm just suggesting that as a thought. You don't have to give me an answer right now.
Well, I did want to share that former Chair Whistler sent a letter to the grand jury conveying this information, and we can certainly consider other publicity about it, but I know she specifically did that before her term ended. Right, Ken?
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. Anything else?
Just in response to Commissioner Hauser, I would say I think we're going to have continuing discussions about the surplus, and you had brought up, Tom, I believe at the last meeting, about looking into use of the surplus funds. So I think it's maybe we want to have a more complete story before we go public, press release wise. I don't know that.
I think the step we just took is a significant step and should be made known that we're trying to be responsible commissioners for the library to deal with all the problems. I'm not going to die about this, and I don't think we have to discuss it any further today.
Okay. Any more thoughts or comments? So let's take a vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And all those opposing? Okay, unanimous. Okay, so now it's approving, 8.2 is approving the salary schedule for the SEIU non-represented positions and job description for community relations manager.
I so move.
Do we have a staff report on this? Well, yeah. Then we need to have the discussion. Okay.
I second.
Okay. So that was Paul making the motion and Jason seconding it. Okay, Suzanne.
Good evening. 41. Hi. Yes, after meeting with the SEIU and realizing that the library's needs for this position have been elevated and significantly take it out of the bargaining unit, it was agreed by the union that we would take this position and make it a non-represented position. And the job description has been revised, and I understand that there may be a couple of concerns with that, but we had done a salary survey and priced the job to be at grade, 40, I believe it's grade 43, and we really need to have a public information officer, so that is really the role of this position. And so I'm open to any questions that you may have.
I'm pleased the way this is moving. I think many of us have been concerned in the past about we don't really have a formal marketing plan, and I see the need to change this position so that marketing what we're calling marketing comes to the fore. I did want to just make a comment. I know that the job description in here is a draft, and without any intention of holding it up. After this goes through, I would like to suggest that we resort the priorities here. I think way down here, buried on page 45, is creates, updates, and administers a comprehensive marketing plan, and that to me is a critical function of this job, because it's the umbrella over everything this person is going to be doing. And I did feel that there was possibly some duplication and some just some resorting out and clearing out and making more concise this job description. So I think that, I don't have any intention of holding it up tonight, because I know we need to act on it to get the job posted, but in the future I would like it to be revised in a more concise and prioritized way. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, any more comments? Yes, Tom.
Aren't you asking for both the salary schedule and for approval of the job description? Isn't that what this draft motion calls for? Yeah. Okay, so to review it later on, we're going to have to just approve that it's non-represented, and then say we'd like to have some changes in the job description and have that come back for the next meeting. Is there any problem with that?
Yeah. Unless you're giving me the authority to reorder the wording and you're approving the content, I don't, that would be a non-substantive change.
I'd just like to comment that I think we would like to initiate the recruitment as soon as possible, and we understand the commissioner's concerns about some of the duplication, if you will, in the job description. If you're, depending on the commission's desires or wishes, I would like to go forward with the job description as it is and make modifications to it, because I do think it expresses what we need the individual to do, and people that are interested in this line of work are going to apply for this line of work based on the job description. We'd be happy to streamline it more for your approval at a later date, and we can hopefully possibly do a template where we have a bit more streamlined description for all our job descriptions. But for this one, I would really hope that you would just approve it as is, with directions for us to refine it in the future, because I think the most important thing is to fill the job, because that person is going to help us develop the plan to really promote and sell the impacts from Measure Y.
I completely agree with what you just said.
Yes, Tom.
I had a question that I think this is a radically different job than what the manager or whatever it was called before.
Yes,
that's correct.
This is a much more expansive thing, and so that's fine with me. I think that's really good. I do have two little ones, a typographical error on page 44. Paragraph 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, line 5 in the very center, there's a comma. I believe that's incorrectly inserted there.
Can you tell me exactly where?
What was that one? Could you repeat that if you don't?
Paragraph 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Line 1, 2, 3, 4, line 5 from the top in paragraph 3, there's a comma right in the center.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Right, yeah.
I think that's maybe a black mark.
And then on page 45, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arrows up from the bottom, that paragraph, the second line has needs in EPL's district. What's an EPL?
I think that's a holdover from some other document.
I'm not sure,
So we should change that, at least to SCL.
Oh, so that's Sonoma County Library. Oh, okay. I thought it was some library.
No, I don't think.
I think I apologize for not looking at this extremely carefully. I would think that's taken from some other document. We didn't change. We can make it SCL, and I think it'll be okay.
I will move that we approve it as written with those two corrections, and subject to a possible revision if it gets streamlined, et cetera, in the next month or two. So I move approval. Did we already move approval? We had to move approval, but.
Did you make the original?
Okay, but I want it subject to those two little corrections.
Did you make the original motion?
Paul made, no.
I made the
Original motion.
So you accept the friendly amendment from Commissioner Hauser?
So we want to do a whole new.
Well, just say you
Just-
accept the amendment.
Friendly
May
amendment.
you accept the amendment?
I accept the amendment.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And all those opposed? Okay. 3, approve the salary schedule for SEIU represented positions and job descriptions for information technology technician 1, information technology technician 2, and senior information technology technician.
I so move.
51.
That's part of the discussion, isn't
We're supposed to get first and then we make.
Oh, it's from Kelly.
it?
I
Okay.
withdraw my motion.
Like I say, maybe one of these years I'll get it. Staff reports. Suzanne, I'm sorry about this. So is there any comments you want to make about this particular item?
No, you can just ask questions.
Fire away. Any questions?
No.
Okay, no questions? So do we have a motion?
I so move.
Okay,
Second.
second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None? Okay. Now, we're going to go back to 6.2. Measure Y committee appointees. Let's see, 6.2, where am I?
16.
Yeah.
16, 17.
Page 16 and 17.
Okay, okay. Okay, we have some new appointments that we have to approve. There are some vacancies. That is because there are, as of October 1st, or July 31st, actually, as it stands now, their appointments are over, and they cannot continue. And it's based on appointments by the particular commissioner from that area. So okay, let's approve Bruce first, or comment about Bruce, or go ahead and take care of that part of it. Then my comments is I think we need to change the timing on this and move the appointments up to November 1st, or as of November 1st, concluding on October 31st of the year, let's see, following the commissioner's appointment. Okay, it'd be November 1st following the commissioner's appointment, and it will end the 31st when his term ends, or her term. Because there has to be an overlap. What has occurred this time is that the person who was chair of the Oversight Committee, his representative is off the commission now, and he has chosen not to continue. It created a little bit of a upheaval, and somebody has stepped up and is going to carry forward so they can get the report done. But I think we need to talk about moving that date forward. That needs to be a discussion versus approving Bruce Robinson for his position from Sebastopol, or yeah. So, did I make myself clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam
Barbara.
Chair, just to support what you've just said, I'm the commission liaison to the Measure Y committee, and this is the very first year, and decided it's meeting quarterly, and then after the second meeting, which didn't have a big turnout, the decision was, well, let's wait until we have the final figures for the budget year. The budget year's closed out, and then we'll write the report. And as you were pointing out, because of timing, the gentleman, Dan Jenkins, who's been our chair, isn't able to continue on, so we haven't done the report. The committee hasn't done a report, and yet we've lost the chair of the committee. So I'm supporting what you said about extending the term of the appointment for at least through the period of time so the committee can get its report done. The committee's report is due every year as we look at the Measure Y funds. So I'm supporting and kind of enhancing what you said with the particulars, and also wanted to thank Dan Jenkins publicly for his leadership as the chair of the committee.
Okay, so let's do this in two parts. Let's take pardon? Yeah, sorry.
I hate to be a lawyer, but I would have to look at the Measure Y to make sure we're allowed to do that before we try to do that. I don't think that's something we're going to do tonight, but we have to actually look at things to make sure we can say, we can do what you're proposing, because what you're proposing essentially is that people would continue in their term after their appointing person is no longer on this commission. And I just can't remember exactly what the words are, but that may not be allowed. So maybe we have to punt some other way, don't have the meeting in August next year if we're going to lose people or something like that. But having said that, I think we need to look at it. We need to consider it in the future. And right now what I'd like to do is have a motion to approve number 1 through 7 on here. It's not just number 1. It's not just Bruce. It's all the others. They have to be reappointed, I think.
Did you move?
I thought they were appointed for 4 years along with the commissioners.
That's a good question. Do we? Yeah, okay.
That was
I can't remember.
Understanding. I don't know.
Well, I think that staff could research the question that the commissioner brought up, because I do think we want to make sure that we have the authority to do that, and we can come back with you with information about that. And if we do have the authority, I'm sure that we could modify or extend the terms of the 7 people you would be approving tonight to move until October 31st of whatever year that would be. But we need to check to make sure we have the authority to do it. I think it's a good suggestion. We just want to make sure we have the authority to do it.
Maybe we could have the motion read that we affirm the appointment of Bruce Robinson and the continuing appointments of the other 6 that are listed there.
And reaffirm them?
Something, we affirm them. Because actually, this commission isn't doing the appointing, I don't think. The individual commissioners.
The individual commissioners are.
So it's just...
We're
acknowledging. Maybe acknowledge is the word.
That's right. Okay. So would you like to make the motion, Tom?
I so move. I move that we acknowledge that the appointments by the individual commissioners.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And opposed? All righty. And we will revisit the whole issue around the timing of it all. But I can see some complications if we don't get that straightened out.
So
okay.
Question real quick, just to reaffirm. The meeting's still going to proceed August 6th, correct?
It's Wednesday, the 8th, I think.
8th, sorry, the 8th.
It is. It's from 2 to 4. It's in Central.
And I can inform my new appointee that he is now on the major, or been reconfirmed. Okay.
Okay. Now, I made a mistake earlier on 7.3. I got the timing part of it, but the format and the receiving of the packet was another discussion that was supposed to be part of that I missed. So the question for this part of 7.3 is the receiving of the packet. Now, at this point in time, I believe the timing is about 2 weeks in. They pretty much have to have their stuff ready for the packet. It has to be in the mail, very short order, so we receive it a week before a hard copy the week before the meeting so we have time to read it. And this puts makes a very difficult timeline for the staff in trying to put all this together. What has been proposed and is doing a digital copy to everybody, and that means we would have to print it out. And or if a person is not able to print it out or does not wish to print it out, we could also send it to their local library, to their particular branch that they represent, or the case of Santa Rosa, the one they choose, and have the library printed out for them. And that could be a specific case or, as the commissioner chooses. So I think we need to have a discussion on that. That will enable staff to have more time to get more information. They won't have that 2-week gap between mid-month and when we meet that there's no information for, or somehow it has to be filled in. And so I'd like some discussion on that.
Would it be, I remember our discussion in past years about this, and some people wanted it 2 weeks ahead so they could really read it. But if we had it a week ahead, would that be an inconvenience? I guess that's my question. To me, that would be fine. If I got it a week ahead, I think that would be plenty enough time to read it for myself. And I don't know if that makes a big difference as far as getting everything in the agenda.
If you had it by the Thursday or Friday prior to the meeting on Monday, would that be enough time for you?
For me, yes.
Okay.
Because this is how I go to, before I go to sleep, I read it, and it helps me sleep better. So.
Okay.
And Reese, some of the meetings or some of the reports that would happen sometimes are within that 2-week time frame. So, given that that may be the case, then that week would be more adequate.
I've always felt that these are prepared too early and stuff kind of gets stale, and I don't need that much time, but I do want to get a paper report because I make notes all over everything, and I don't want to go down to the library and print it out. So I would like mine mailed to me as if I get it before the weekend. If I get it Thursday or Friday, then I'm fine with that. I'm also fine with having digital copies and saving trees and all that stuff, but this is one thing I do want in paper, and I do want it mailed to me, please.
Can I ask your objection to going to the library, what that is?
Because I have to drive across town and go to the library to get something that can be stuck in the mail.
Could I make a comment? I think one of the suggestions we're making here, we're very concerned about the timing, so you have plenty of time to review the materials in digital or print format, but we're also really asking that the format be digital and the default format is print. And we are happy to work with any of you to make sure that you get that print format. If that's the way you need it delivered in some fashion, we can figure that out. If you would consider digital to be the primary fashion of the packet, it's going to help our timing, it's going to help paper saving, and I think it will really help our efficiency here in preparing this for you.
So what are you saying actually then in terms of the timing? I'm a little unclear about what we're exactly changing.
Well, we're changing the format from paper primarily to digital primarily and a default or request as paper. We can work out the timing in terms of when the material is available in final format to you. And I appreciate Commissioner Chair Foxen's trying to make this as transparent as possible, but frankly, if we could produce these in digital format, we will figure out if someone needs to have it delivered or FedEx to their home or mailed or something like that.
Jason?
Well, I would propose to submit it in a digital format that we can annotate. Because a strict PDF form, I can't, unless I have the advanced Adobe Reader, I can't annotate it. So it becomes cumbersome for me to not be able to, because I interact when I read with these. So I would need a method that's interactive if it's going to be digital.
Jason, would it be possible for you to go to the library to pick it up, a paper copy of it?
He doesn't want paper copy. He wants it digital that he can.
Oh,
I'm saying if we're going to make a primer, I don't mind it, but I interact. I mean, I don't have a problem going to the library to pick it up.
okay, if you need it by paper.
Yes, but my recommendation is to submit it if it's going to be digital, in a format, or give us the software capabilities on tablets to interact with it in advanced Adobe Reader form or Writer form.
Could we, is there an issue about a PDF versus a Word document? If you had a Word document, you could annotate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you submit it? Could you send it out? No. Is there a reason why not? I mean, I don't know.
No, I understand. I would want to confer with staff here first to make sure we totally understand your question about having an interactive format. I would just want to make sure we identify the best format to work with you and whatever the devices we provide for you, and we can get back to you with that information too.
And also excuse me, go ahead.
I have 2 points. I'm a total idiot with any technology. So I think I have to have it in paper form, okay? I can go to the library and pick it up, but I think I have to have it. It's just, Vicki, tell them. The second thing is, Thursday or Friday before a Monday meeting is kind of tight for me. I have a pretty busy schedule some of the time, and that's just not going to give me time to really think through. This has been a really short agenda, and this was an easy one, but some of the time there's an awful lot of stuff in here. And, you know, I don't like this Thursday or Friday, which means Friday to me, very likely. So Wednesday or Thursday I would try out.
Okay, given this, could the staff talk about what the specific timing could be in creating it and reviewing it and their process, that I know you do things that I never knew you did before we got it? And if we put it into the digital, could we do it in something that he could make notes with? So, and then we'll figure out a way to get it delivered to Barbara somehow. Okay, and does that, and then we'll talk about it next time? Okay.
Recommendation next time.
Okay. So, and we did 6.2. Okay, so we're moving on to 9, and there are no action items by resolution, so we're down to lab appointments. Hey, we're skating. Okay, Sonoma Valley.
I move that we actually reappoint Beverly Seifert as a member of the Sonoma Valley Library Advisory Board for a term of 4 years ending in June of 2022.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on, we have Paul.
Okay.
Oh, Petaluma.
I move by resolution that the Sonoma County Library Commission appoint the following applicant to the terms as listed. Timothy May to a position on the Petaluma Library Advisory Board for a term ending on June 30th, 2022.
All righty.
I'll be happy to second that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. And finally, we come down to the Santa Rosa Library Advisory Board, and there is nobody here from Santa Rosa, so I'll read it. I move by resolution that the Sonoma County Library Commission appoint the following applicant to the terms as listed. Kristen Bell to a youth member position on the Santa Rosa Library Advisory Board for a term ending on June 30th, 2022.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty. Okay, we're down to items to include in the commission notes. Now, Stephen, you probably don't know about this a little bit, but it's things that you feel that need to go into the commission notes, which is like a newsletter that goes out to all the council people, to us, to lab people. So anything that you feel is important that needs to go in there, especially things that come from this meeting or anything on the side that you think is important. Okay?
I suggest the new lab appointments or the continuing lab appointments would be a good idea.
I'd suggest all the technical upgrades to the libraries, the Hublets, forum room upgrades, and digital displays. And I would like to put something in there about the bike fix-its, because I think it's really interesting and it would get a lot of interest.
Okay.
I would like to see something in there about the budget adjustment to put the money in OPEB, PEB.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Anything else? Okay.
Do we want to mention the changing of our commission meeting times, or is that too confusing right now? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, since we haven't finalized it. Okay. Anything else? Maybe suggest we made it through the meeting without me screwing it up too much. Okay, so that's items in the commission notes. Any agenda items for future commission meetings? Okay, we have the Measure Y appointment process.
The training coming up for new commissioners, I think, is another
Training
important one.
Mm-hmm. For new commissioners. We have a format discussion.
Format of the agenda? Agenda format? What format?
Yeah, the packet format discussion. And the timing of it, yeah. We have committee appointments. Or preferences, I guess, will be on the next one. Appointments will be by October 1st. Okay. Anything else that anybody can think of?
I just wanted to suggest, did you want to comment about why we're changing the September meeting and then what October is going to look like?
Yeah, I was going to get to that one. So I was just trying to get through the future items. Okay, is there anything anybody else wants to see on the next agenda? Okay. As you noticed, we are changing the meeting date for the September meeting from the 10th to the 17th. Mm-hmm. When I made plans, I had no idea that I would be chair. When Barbara made plans, she had no idea she'd be vice chair. As we're going through this, I'm thinking, well, that's okay because Barbara will be here. And Barbara's thinking, well, that's okay, Reese will be here. And then we discover neither of us are going to be here on the 10th. And so because it will be the first meeting at which all but possibly one, we don't know about that one yet, of the commissioners will be sitting, we felt like we needed to do it with the two of us here. So we asked if everybody could move it to the 17th. And I know it made it difficult for a couple of items and a couple of people, but I thank them for their graciousness in letting us do that. So we moved it to September 17th. Now we also know and we're acutely aware of the fact 2 weeks later on October 1st, we meet again. And we decided that it would be good to do a working meeting on that one and maybe get the committees kind of up and off the ground, have them kind of group out and meet, but we'll turn it into a working meeting instead of just having it the formal commission meeting. There will be some formality to it, of course, but not as much as usual. Anyway, so, and we're going to do a little bit of training possibly, but we'll figure some things out so it becomes a working meeting and we can actually talk about goals. So think about goals that you want to settle, do this next year. Think about the committees you want to be on and why they're important to you and what you would like to contribute to them and things of that nature. So that will be the October 1st meeting. Anyway, and I appreciate any kind of adjustments anybody had to make in order to make this possible. So thank you. Anybody have anything else that we need to talk about? Yes.
What will the start time be of the October 1st meeting?
The October 1st meeting, let me go back to it. I think it was 6, but that's just off the top of my head. 6? Okay. 6 unless you're otherwise notified, Randall. How's that? Okay, that way I don't have to dig for it. Okay, with that, we are adjourned.